Okay. Love you.
Welcome to Beyond the Voices, a podcast where impactful conversations spark change, amplify unheard stories, and inspire actions. Here, we give voices to the change makers, the dreamers, the doers, and those who are shaping a better world. Whether it's innovation, advocacy, or personal journeys, every voice matters. Each week, we bring you compelling stories, deep insights, and transformative ideas from thought leaders, activists, and everyday heroes from around the globe. From untold stories of resilience or stories of groundbreaking perspectives, Beyond the Voices is your destination for meaningful conversations that leave a lasting impact. If you're ready to be inspired, challenged, and moved, this podcast is for you. Beyond the Voices, where impact meets inspiration.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Voices. I am Charlene Clark Cura, your host for this evening's episode, and with me is Shirley Brown Dancy, your co-host for this episode. Welcome, and it's good to see you all here. Now, today's guest is a true example of resilience and purpose. Growing up in a difficult environment, she and her sister had drastically different outcomes. While her sister struggled with drugs and despair, she found the strength to rise and thrive. Now, she's on a mission to build a global community where everyone feels welcome, accepted, and celebrated. Our passion is to spread kindness, compassion, and heart while working to save lives, eradicate bullying, and reduce the suicide rate. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, listeners, to our podcast, none other than Deborah DiMiceli. Now, Deborah, please pronounce your surname for me because I don't want to butcher your name. Please pronounce your surname.
DiMiceli.
DiMiceli. There you go. Deborah DiMiceli. It's a pleasure to have you here on Beyond the Voices, and we're looking forward to the conversation that we will have. Already your background tells us a little bit about your struggles and also the triumph, and we just are so happy that you're here to share it with our viewers and our listeners. Is there anything that I missed that you'd want our viewers or listeners to hear that I didn't say about you? Anything you want to add to that introduction?
My little part of my mission, just spreading kindness and positivity, and helping people build their confidence, which is key to that. So thank you for having me today.
You're most welcome. Now, how did it all started, Deborah? Tell us a little bit about the beginning, because that's where most things starts, at the beginning, and we want to hear a little bit about your beginning.
Okay. Well, when I was younger, I've just always been a curious individual and a lifelong learner. And I grew up in an environment with multiple siblings, and we all had different outcomes in life as now we're grown. And
Right.
as I became an adult, my sister and I, we shared the same parents. So she and I have, the most shared DNA. And she and I had such different trajectories in life. And really, everything I'm doing today is a culmination of research, but really more a heartfelt desire to level the playing field for the two of us. I felt like something was awakened. I feel like we all have the something in us, the ability to be resilient. But I feel like some of us are naturally born with it, just sort of already turned on or activated. And others, we have to learn through life's lessons how to turn that on. And I want to maybe fast track that for people because I always wish I could help my sister more. And so now I'm committed to helping others.
Awesome. Your topic that you're really addressing today is confidence through kindness. What does that mean?
Well, it's really interesting. There's a lot of science to back this up now. And like I said, I'm just a crazy learner. They're able to detect at a molecular level now, a cellular level, the impact of positivity. And
Right.
so compassion, being focused on another, makes us not only more others aware, but self-aware. And through that, it builds confidence because it enables us to see in action the value that we have to offer others. So it's interesting when we do something, when we're of service for others, that validates the fact that we are able to do that thing that we were doing, even if it's holding a door for someone or smiling. So getting confidence through kindness is when you're kind for others. I won't get too scientific on you, but
Yeah, that's scientific. I like
okay.
science.
Well, the brain has a reward center. And
Right.
so when we complete or do an act of kindness, even that intention, a smile to another individual, even is enough to do this. It activates our reward center. And then
Right.
that reward center releases oxytocin and dopamine, which are known as our feel good neurotransmitters.
Right.
And so literally we get a visceral, very physiological effect in our being and our bodies
Right.
from doing something kind for another person.
See, I'm so glad that I asked you to go scientific on me because now I understand the concept when they say when you do good for others, it makes you feel good in return. And I really didn't understand quite how. And see, you've just explained how. And that is why doing good for others, it doesn't matter how huge or how minute, but that smile that you can bring on someone else's face also makes you feel good about yourself. Thank you for going science on me and keep it like that. I like science. Now, how does compassion strengthen confidence instead of diminishing it?
Well, so it's interesting because sometimes kindness can be perceived as weakness, but it's actually the opposite. It is a sign of strength because you're strong enough, confident enough, comfortable enough to show your soft side,
Right.
consideration for others.
Right.
So compassion, being compassionate for others is giving of yourself in a loving way, sharing a positive intention and emotion, and even giving someone attention, right? And when people are able to show up in their authentic selves in a comfortable and free way, that is how they build confidence. And it comes from how we see ourselves, and often, unfortunately, in relation to others. And, we've all heard that the comparison is the thief of joy. So a lot of times we'll find the definition of ourselves as it relates to others. And sometimes now all the media, the social media, the filters, the, Photoshops and such. But when you're compassionate, that's coming from it's a heartfelt action. And it's coming from within, intrinsic. So then you build the confidence there because it sits within yourself, regardless of how you compare or relate to other people. So it validates, again, that worth, that treasure that sits inside of you, that doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or says or does, you are able to be thoughtful and heartfelt and engage with other people in a meaningful way.
Wow. Now, you said something before while you were explaining that persons will tell you to be kind is to be weak, and there's a saying that goes, don't don't take my kindness for weakness, right? And there's another perspective on that as well, especially when it comes to the male gender, not the female, the male gender. It's more so for the male gender where you're not supposed to show kindness too much because it takes away a bit from your machiness, right? How do you dispel those farce? How do you dispel those notions that really it does not reflect the truth about being kind, being compassionate, and really being there for somebody else who might need you to be there for them. How do you go about dispelling that? Because it's everywhere.
That is true. So that is one of those societal norms, right, that has driven behavior in a certain way. It's really limited the framework of what it means to be a man. And I will say that I just plan on jumping on the wave and accelerating the momentum that already does exist. I feel like today is a better time than any for men to be stepping up, being authentic and transparent, and being that change. I think, it may feel like a small part of us because the headlines don't celebrate things like this movement yet, but that's my intention, is to shift that narrative as well. And I feel, but nonetheless, I feel like men showing up, I think we're recognizing how destructive that whole framework and mindset is. That, again, showing vulnerability, softness, kindness, consideration is weak. My intention is to really shift that narrative. If we look at the perspective, if you think about it, but us three ladies, if we can just say, when we see a man doing something kind for another, or stopping to hold the door, do you think, wow, he's really soft and weak? Is that what we think?
No, I like that. No. No, I love it. I'm going to be like, no.
And if he's with a lady, I usually say, you've got to keep her, right? That's what I say. It's the opposite. So there's more of that. A lot of my movement is about celebrating what's good and right, catching people doing things good and right, rather than what we usually do. Human nature says, oh my God, look at what you're doing wrong. But I want to say, hey, let's shine a light on all this good stuff that's happening.
Yes, so we can get more of that behavior. But to that point, and I know we talked about males, Deborah, but also when we look at females, a lot of times when we talk about kindness, sometimes, it can also be looked at as a weakness for us as well. When we show kindness, a lot of times it's perceived as a weakness. So,
all right, I'm going to be really weak and vulnerable with you ladies right now. I am a people pleaser in recovery. And I kind of feel like, as ladies, we tend to be by nature very nurturing. So we're kind of mama to everybody. I know I am Mama D to so many people. And I love that. And that's wonderful. But what we often forget to do is the self-kindness, the self-love, the self-care, and that is really a big component of being confident as well, is treating ourselves well. So I feel like ladies, on the other hand, I think we're very hard on ourselves. And it's the little things like, oh, that was stupid. And nothing's really stupid. I think Thomas Edison said, I never failed once. I only found 10,000 ways it didn't work. So we need to be kind to ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah. And you see the atmosphere, the environment that we're living in as well adds to this notion. You spoke about societal norms. It's a word that is often used, societal norm, but who made it normal? And when you try to do differently, they say that you're abnormal, right? So societal norms sometimes dictate how you behave that might not be the good ingredient for your growth and development, and for supporting others. And when you do it the way you believe will help with that growth and that development, you're told that you're abnormal. And so how do you find, when you go in your different spaces and you try to engage in this way to shift the paradigm a bit, how do you find people accepting what you are sharing with them?
Well, I mean, goodness sakes, change is often uncomfortable. And I'm a bit of I'm a disruptor. I'm an innovator. I like to turn things upside down and see what happens. And really, I mean, we kind of need that as far as being concerned for another being. We've gone are the days that the neighborhood is watching everybody's children, right? I mean, when I was growing up, you couldn't get to the corner without your mom getting a phone call about what you were up to, right? And nowadays people are, filming but not helping, or, not to generalize. There are a lot of people doing a lot of good, but just saying, it's like the shift. Society used to self-police in the sense that it was like, don't speak that way, don't behave that way, that's not okay. You know what I mean? Don't. And now people are like, not getting involved. I'm not saying a word. I don't want to be the bad guy. So I feel like we need to kind of get back to that, because we have the statistics. We can see how it's working for us. I mean, America is not okay. Like, I'm not trying to be dramatic. Like, if you look at the suicide rate, and largely, bullying and all of that has lifelong impacts on people. How have we not gotten rid of that in our school system? I'm perplexed by all those things. So that's the fuel to my fire. To say we can look at the numbers, like, how is this working for us? In order to make change, we've got to do drastic different. So I've got some programs that are led by kids, right? Let them lead the program about being kind and inclusion. There's a lot of exclusion, a lot of judging, but it's human nature. Humans, our nature is to be negative.
But the thing is, to add to that, Deborah, why I believe, and this is just my observation, my belief, it's not something that I have researched, but why I believe children are now being more suicidal than before, it's because of the fact that we have now included more of the devices than the interpersonal engagement, and they do not understand how to accept and know. They do not understand how to turn a blind eye when someone say, oh, you're ugly, oh, I don't like your shoe. They do not understand how to behave when they are met with those kind of criticism, because even the things that they're participating in, you move one step. All right, look at the games that they play. You move from 1 to 5 and they get a gold bar. I mean, 1 to 5 and you're given a gold bar. You move from 5 to 10 and you're given a free game. So they're used to being praised. They get a C on their exam, and their parents are taking them for Chick-fil-A to support and say, oh, you got to see, at least you try. So they're not hearing, listen, you've got to see, but there's A. Why didn't you get the A? And I'm waiting for that A. And until you get the A, you and I will have that discussion. So they're used to being praised. And when they are now out in the real world and see the real reality of what can happen and what is happening, I believe it affects them that way because they're not trained that way. I don't know. That's my belief. What is yours?
I think you're very intuitive. So this is interesting. We may not align with the shift of what's happening. We may not agree with it. Every generation says, "Oh, back in the day," So some good, some bad, etc. But I feel like it is important to acknowledge and accept what is, and then adapt. So how can we teach people to thrive in this environment? And again, it goes back to the intrinsic. So what is inside of you? Each one of us is born with incredible gifts. Right. And I'm working on a project that includes a lot of different types of science. Like, I forget the numbers, and I won't bore you with that, but our heartbeats. Like, have you ever thought about how many times a day your heart beats? And then multiply that by a year and how many years you're alive? And like, if you think about that, it takes zero effort or thought. So I'm hoping to help young people understand. So elementary and middle school, especially, because if you catch them, then it becomes in the fabric of their being, and all of these other things that come at them, they'll be able to be resilient and vital even in. But it all starts within. So understanding that we already have everything we need to be amazing, and we have value and distinct gifts that the world needs in the way only we can deliver them. Think about, I just got goosebumps saying that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really believe, I mean, I know it to be true. We're all given gifts. And if you think about it, you're like, sometimes it's a little difficult to discover what they are.
Mm-hmm.
So that, again, that builds confidence. If you recognize, I'm naturally an artist, but as we get
Exactly.
older, that whole comparison thing, we start,
Mm-hmm.
saying, they're so much better than me. But then, have you ever gone to a gallery and you look at some of this art that's selling for 10, 20, $50,000? You're like, I could do that. Are you kidding? Like, I need to, So it's about really exploring the world in a way that really lights up what excites you. Because typically,
Exactly.
whatever our gifts
Mm-hmm.
are, that's what we're usually passionate about.
You know what,
Mhm.
Deborah, is accepting to be different. We all don't need to be the same. We all don't
Exactly.
need to look the same. We all don't need to speak the same because this world would be a boring world if that was the case.
We're all uniquely designed. Like there are so many unique identifiers for every single 7+ billion human and all those that have yet to exist and those that have come before us. Like literally think about it, your fingertips, your fingerprints, your DNA, your retinal pattern. Now like they're discovering tongue, ears, gait, the way you walk, like all that is distinct to you. It's no
Right.
one else. So tell
That's
me, by
that
design,
self-confidence piece. That's that self-confidence piece that is so powerful that
Yeah.
we have to
Yeah.
develop and get people to understand. And you said something very powerful about we have everything that we need to be amazing. And so we have to just really make people aware of that and then build from that point. But sometimes it just takes a lot to get people to just really understand that they have a gift and to build that self-confidence so that they can, capitalize on those gifts that they have and understand their own self-worth. And you talked about comparison and not compare themselves to other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
we're
when they
designed.
start to compare themselves to other people, just like you said, comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wish I coined that, but it's been said by many.
Yeah. That money. Yeah.
Yes, it is so true. It is so
It is
true, though,
true.
isn't it? It
Write
is
that
so
down.
true. Yes.
Right.
I would like to ask because I've never really met you, but I kind of met you like in Dr. Denise Nicholson's group. It's kind of how I met you indirectly. So are you in the process of writing a book or trying to put everything together? I know you have a lot of information. So I'm just curious.
Yes. A lot of what I've been speaking to you about has come from the research that I have been doing for my book. That's the project I referenced. It is called Trading Mirrors, and it's a book that's designed to help people clarify their self-image so they can design and define a life, that really reflects who they are.
Wow.
So I am taking I interweave some personal journeys because it's interesting. As I started working on the project, I didn't really realize how much I had been through and how much self-trust it really required to get through a lot of these major situations so I have this saying, you can take me down, but you can't take me out. And I have been taken down, boom, rug dropped. I mean, many times in my life, I've had to reinvent myself. And so I don't really realize it because I just get up and go. I'm like, dust off, ow, that hurt. That's going to bruise, and just figure it out. And something in me again but I really feel ultimately it's because internally I've just always known that I can do anything that I really set my mind to. And again, our mind, there are 3 different parts of our brain, I won't get into it, but that validate whatever we think. So, I've recognized too to ask for what I want versus what I don't want. Instead of saying don't fall, I say hang on. And in my own life, I try to really stay positive, focused on the outcome I desire versus being concerned about other things, coming out in a way I don't want them to, because whatever we focus on, that's kind of what happens. Because the universe will bring it to us, and that's what we recognize, and even our energy is drawn to. So focus on what you want, how you want it to be. So through that, I thought, I need to tell my story too. I just can't be hiding behind the research and information. So working with Dr. Denise has really brought that out of me. I didn't set out to have it be a motivational memoir, but that's what it's becoming. So I'm excited to finish that up. And I would say I'm looking at today's date. It's the 24th, and I will be done before the end of this year for sure. I should be having my launch party by then. So
have you chosen a title yet?
yes, it's called Trading Mirrors.
Trading Mirrors. Okay.
And the concept is that I see you so differently than you see yourself. And as we get older, our self-reflection gets warped. It gets clouded because we start focusing on our shortcomings, our flaws, our failures. But you're far more beautiful than your mirror shows. So I want you to, I help you the idea is trade with me. You look at yourself through my mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Really
as soon as it is ready, we need to know.
Yes.
So that we can help to, propel it, because I believe it's going to be a good read.
Thank you.
But how can leaders, parents, or professionals apply the principle in their daily life? This principle that you're talking about, because you're not the first one who is saying it now. We're not the first who are discussing it, but it seemed to be something that is hard for persons to really accept and really practice in their daily life. So how could they practice by starting today? How could they practice?
That is interesting because what really makes change is seeing someone else leading the change. So Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. And with this kindness, compassion, movement, that is what it takes, is me being a kind person and doing something kind. For example, I have this little ritual when people pass, unfortunately, but to honor them, since I live by the beach, I think about intentionally what kind of flower should I pick up. I go to the florist and something different comes for different people. Maybe it's a rose, but different colors. Like, I just go with whatever comes to my mind. So I got red roses for my friend Jason. I was like, okay, Jason. So I went and I walked down, but something told me to take more flower. I don't want to bring a whole dozen. I buy them to celebrate right here, and then I take a few. Something told me just bring an extra one. So I did. And I'm walking, and there was an older gentleman. Just people sit on the pier and fish. I don't even know if they keep them, but something told me give him a flower. I just walked over as if he and I had rehearsed it. I gave him this flower. He lit up like a Christmas tree.
Oh, wow.
And he said, thank you. And I said, it's my absolute pleasure. And we shared this really beautiful moment of energy on my way. And that was all we exchanged. That was it. But it was all of a sudden he was like, oh, I'm seen. I don't know. Isn't that crazy? That's that little thing that costs you nothing, because of what is happening in our society.
You share that experience. I remember I went to a store just over the weekend, and as I was approaching the door, a gentleman was behind me, and I saw that he quickened his steps because I guess he wanted to get to the door before me so he could open the door. So it was like a race that, probably I was the only one who was aware that I'm in a race. He wasn't, because I wanted to race into the door as well. So I got there before him, and I opened the door. And as I opened the door, he was like, no. I said, listen, it gives me great pleasure to open the door for you. Please go ahead. They're not used to it. And when as he went through the door, I felt good. I felt like I was walking on cloud 9 or something. I'm like, yeah, I did that, kind of a thing.
See, isn't that interesting?
It's very interesting.
And how fun. You put some playful into it, because now all of a sudden you're racing. When do you do that, right? But you're I'm going to do something nice for this guy. I'm going to get there before he does, right? And just all that, literally, quantum physics, confirms everything is energy.
Yeah.
And literally now you elevated the vibrational frequency that you emit. I'm not even going to go into that. That could be for another show. But read my book, it'll be in there. But you noticed that, and you felt it physically, right? You said you felt like you were on cloud 9. Well, just imagine if each of us commit. Let's just say, okay, I'm going to try to do something nice for someone every day.
Every day.
Smile. Because honestly, we don't know what's happening on the other side.
Right.
It's easy
Because you can't see the other
Someone
side.
is crunchy, I call it,
Yeah,
abrasive, I call them
yeah.
sandpaper people. Sometimes people are just rough. If you give back, then guess what happens? I know we've all been
You
there.
get that.
You know, there's no
Yeah.
stopping us. But if you
And
give
Mm-hmm.
someone so much more than they deserve, and if they're like, "Meh," and you say, well, I hope you enjoy your day, or don't
mm-hmm,
receive their energy,
mm-hmm.
it kind of stops there. And then
Mm-hmm.
maybe they'll be like, wow, I was kind of grouchy in comparison to your level of grace.
So tell
Yes.
me, Deborah, with all this information, you said that working on a project that include your book, Trading Mirrors. I can't wait to read that.
Thank you.
And you're doing other things. What other things are you doing? Are you, giving public speech to schools, universities, business? It doesn't matter where, because you'll find people when you hear of schools. I mean, I don't know if you are aware of any bullies happening in schools that are close to you. Do you offer your service to go in and engage the students, engage the teachers too? Because, Deborah, teachers can be bullies. Yes, teachers know how
Oh,
to
yes.
bully the children. Believe me, because one thing that they have working for them is the power. And now, because they have the power to give detention, the power to give to expel the students, the power to do all these things, sometimes they do bully. So do you offer that type of engagement where it is needed when you recognize that need? That's what I'm asking.
It is absolutely needed. I think at the core of bullying, or really the anger, the negative, any kind of the negative emotions, at the core of that is discontent. And
Mm-hmm.
it often comes from a low self-esteem, or a sense of self-consciousness. Really, because again, when we love ourselves, we love other people more. And so when we feel hopeless, when we feel lost, when we feel afraid, a lot of that stuff drives bad behavior. But if we knew how to process that, or someone was on the other side of it with an outlet, a way to do some framework, etc. So yes, I'm just about to launch what's called a kindness kickstart, because I feel like it's imperative. So this is a 7-level. It's mission guided. It's real fun. It's for families, and it breaks down. It's like 6 different activities that you do. It's self-paced, so you don't have to do one every day or week or whatever works for you. But it
Mm-hmm.
talks about being able to act with empathy, doing kind stuff in the home, just teaching kids how to surprise someone, do something nice, do a chore without being asked. And then it
Yes.
celebrates, it honors and celebrates the good behavior rather than focusing on the negative. So what happens is the fastest way to get attention is bad behavior, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be addressed,
Yeah.
especially in school. And
Yes.
then
Yes.
but what if that was not, that nobody really paid much attention to that, and we really honored good behavior, and you wanted to get a star for modeling good behavior? So it's shifting that narrative. The teachers also, I will say this, and I'm not making any excuses, but burnout is a real thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
creating a curriculum, and we'll be starting at my local elementary school where my oldest grandson attends. He's in 5th grade this year. So
Okay.
yes, I'm just like ramping up this movement right now. So they're my target and pilot school, and so we'll be building out the framework that's something manageable, right? That's why it's going to be children led and staff supported. The kids aren't getting solid foundations. I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier, right? Where the C is getting you a Chick-fil-A meal like it's a big thing. You're getting a participation trophy, and we're not setting our children up for success in life because they have these high expectations of doing little and getting so
Mm-hmm.
much. And the real world is not like that.
Exactly.
Nor could it ever be, right? Like we just can't accept that as a reality. But so we're leaning on the teacher so much. They're the psychologist. They're the parent. They're the
Parents,
behavioral
they're the
science.
counselors.
They're the artist. They're the musician. They're the whatever, the PE coach,
Yeah.
whatever they have to
Yeah.
be, because we keep cutting. And I'm
Right.
not making excuses by any means, but that's why I'm feeling like if we put a program together that is scalable, that can, at least especially in the elementary schools, because the kids are so much more moldable, and then and a lot more to manage. Oh my gosh, I did an assembly at an elementary school. I was there for 2 mornings. I have a newfound respect for every staff member at a school, and I told them, you guys should do like a live feed so people have more respect for your job, because I don't feel like parents understand. But nonetheless, if we build a framework that brings that self-policing society kind of concept back into the school, where bullying is not okay, where we develop upstanders, that's part of the larger program, which what it means is we're not a bystander, right? Which is what we're seeing a lot of. We're an upstander, where we are confident enough to say, it is not okay to speak to her that way. Exactly. And if it happens again, then this is the consequence. Like, you will not get your star for today, your star award for today, or whatever that is. Like, don't let them get an award versus taking something away. And then also I started thinking, there's no program for the bullies. They get chastised, shamed, and guess what? Most bullies are bullied.
Yes, that's why they do it. That is why they do it.
Sorry, they may be being bullied at home. I'm not. I'm just this.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But if we take all of that responsibility off their shoulders, and people are just much more calm, considerate, helpful, inclusive, then it's a much better environment for everyone. The burnout will be less. The kids aren't going to be acting out and acting up for attention. It'll be the opposite. They'll say, do you need help with homework? Ms. Smith, can I help you with anything? It'll be like that,
We definitely will have to collaborate and invite you again to speak where, we are more strategic with, the delivery. We will definitely want you to come back, because 30 minutes is now what? 39 minutes? 30 minutes is
so sorry.
No. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's really not enough based on what you have to share. And so we will have to invite you again, because I do see the need for this type of conversation to be happening in many different spaces because of what is happening in our world today. We need to have your voice in the ears of parents, teachers, counselors, children, to kind of change, not to kind of, but to definitely change. I mean, the change won't come overnight. It will take practice. And it's so sad that you have to go through all the rudiments to undo the negative just so you can introduce the positive, because first you have to undo the negative before you cannot introduce a positive mind frame to someone who has a negative mind frame. You have to try to break that down to introduce, that kind of thinking. But it is something that is very needing in this day and age.
We all want to belong. And I think, like you mentioned, the devices. I think the devices are making us divisive. Right?
Everything that you've been saying, I've been just putting it on the screen. You said that the devices are making us
divisive. Right?
Yeah.
And bullying's ramping up and whatnot, but it's a detached connection. So they feel like they're connected because they're scrolling and seeing what's happening in everybody's life. But there's really no shared energy. There's no eye to eye. There's no hug. There's, none of that emotion shared. And so a lot of us are lonely. A lot of people, that's why we believe, you don't belong. You're like, you're right. But what if everybody said, oh, you're wrong. Come on with us. Like, that's part of that program for school. It is an inclusive program. So we've got monitors, and if anybody's sitting alone, you bring them over to a table and you introduce them to a few new friends. Just to change the narrative and the structure.
Just to change the narrative. Wow. So you spoke a little bit about your upcoming book, and like I said, as soon as it is published, please let us know. Do you have any social media handles you'd like to share, or if our viewers or listeners are interested to hear more from you, to know what you're about, how can they reach out to you? Where can we find you?
Well, I have a couple of, I'm on Instagram at Deborah DiMiceli. So if you
So that's your name, Instagram at your name, right?
And then I also, I have a website that's up and it's forever changing, but there is a free downloadable Kindness on the Go card kit that is available.
What's your website address?
It's Esteem Academy, so ESTEEM Academy.life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a free downloadable.
It's a Kindness on the Go card kit.
Okay. And viewers can go there to get that.
Yeah, no charge.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure, though, having you on, Deborah. And like Charlene said, we certainly want to have you back. Your voice is powerful. You have a powerful message. And the information that you're sharing, we need it. I'm sure you're starting in one school, seeing how your program works, but I'm sure it will just continue to go to more schools and continue to grow. I think it will impact the entire world. We need it. Just so keep pushing. And the more people hear it, the more it will hopefully it will become contagious and just keep spreading. So I am glad you came on today. And again, we hope to see you back.
We will see you back.
Yes.
One key message you would want listeners to remember.
You have distinct and unique gifts that the world needs.
Thank you so very much. Wow, what a wonderful, beautiful, powerful conversation. Thank you, Deborah, for sharing your story and reminding us that resilience, kindness, and compassion can truly, really change lives. Now, to our listeners, remember, bullying often comes from a place of low self-esteem. Deborah just shared that with us, but each of us has the power to break that cycle by choosing kindness every day. Until next time, keep living with heart and be the light someone else might need to shine. Of course, you can do it. We can do it all together. This has been Beyond the Voices, where impact meets inspiration. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Deborah. Shirley, thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thanks, ladies. Be well.